Obviously, we didn't have John Kinman's taking part in the first race. Is, from your insider knowledge, is that something he's been able to fix for the second one, or is he out for the remainder of the day?
No, sadly he's not able to join the second race. The differential problem that he found upon investigation was too much to repair here trackside, so some new parts will be needed and reassembly before the last meeting. But obviously disappointing for him not to be able to race, and other disappointment because he was leading the championship prior to today's meeting, so he won't be joining this race. Mario Ferrari, another non-starter as well this time. Sadly he won't be out in the race, but yeah, still an excellent grid of cars and ideal conditions for them to go out and enjoy themselves and entertain the public here at the track and those watching on this broadcast as well.
Well, let's see who we do have out on the grid then for the second race of the afternoon for the Scottish Classic Sports and Saloons. Again, this is the updated entry list that we've got just now. David Brown on pole position alongside Andrew Graham. Martin Reynolds on row 2 alongside Alistair Coates. Charlie Cope alongside Craig Houston. Adam Kinmans in 7th position alongside Jimmy Crowe on row 4. Row 5 is going to be Nicky Dixon alongside Ian Mitchell. Row 6 is going to be Michael Anderson and Paul Bowers. Row 7 is going to be Ewan Anderson alongside Ian Morton. And row 8 is Duncan O'Neill in the XR2 alongside David Riley. And at the back, we've got Colin Calder, no Mario Ferrari, as we've just had pointed out, and no John Kinmans again in this race. So Colin Calder will be at the back of the grid if he's taken part, because of course he retired in his Lotus Elan in the last race.
Yes, we should see him there at the back. Some repairs in the interval between first and second race carried out, so we expect to see him, and there he is.
Yeah, that is
coming up the brown Lotus Elan car at the rearmost of the shot. Prior to that, in front we see the two O'Neill Racing Fiestas in green and white. Then to the left side, the Osney 40 of Ian Morton, and then the BMW 2002, first time out for that car for Ewan Anderson in his very smart looking left-hand drive BMW, which he purchased in Denmark and has spent a lot of effort getting it up to the standard it is now. So little bit of deficiency in brakes in the first race, but he's carried out some repairs as well, and there he is, ready to race.
Yep, here we go then, the lights on the Cantry Bridge. We get ready for our second race of the afternoon then with the Scottish Classic Sports and Saloons, sponsored by Indoor Watch Company, and away we go. It's a rocket ship start as absolutely predicted, with David Brown away off into the sunset with the TVR Griffith. He does have a little bit of company though. Andrew Graham wanting to try and make a race of this. It's not going to last too long because the TVR is absolutely going to muscle itself away. As you can see side by side, that is the Golf GTI, and I believe that might have been Craig Houston that was side by side with that car as well. Beautiful shot of these classic cars coming over the hill at the chicane there. That unmistakable Vauxhall Nova of Ian Mitchell. Racing in a classic sports and saloons race, seeing a Vauxhall Nova is just absolutely pickling my head. It really is. However, David Brown into the final corner already. We're about to scratch off one lap just now. And again, it's those three at the front, David Brown, Andrew Graham and Martin Reynolds, all keeping each other company.
Yeah, Brown's car particularly fast. It runs Class C here, which is the invitation class, so it's not a championship contender because it has modifications which mean that it isn't eligible to be running for championship points, but it's in the spirit of the event, and it's encouraging to see cars of that nature here. But yeah, it certainly has the power and the driving skills of David Brown to keep it ahead, with Andy Graham second there in the 78 TR7, and Martin Reynolds in his white, yellow and blue Escort there, coming into picture in third, with Copes Golf and Alistair Coates in the green MG BV8, and there Craig Houston next up as they come into the hairpin.
Now, just to talk a little bit about the class system that you briefly touched on there. Class A is for cars up to 1.5 litre engines. Class B is 1.5 to 2.5 litre engines. And then Class C, as you said, invitational class for cars that don't comply with the championship regulations, but the organisers still want to kind of offer an olive branch out to. I guess the class was traditionally, it was kind of thought of as classic rally cars, was what they thought of with that class. Class D is for 2.5 to 3.6 litre engines, and then Class E is for engines over 3.6 litres. And then Class F is the Future Classics genre. They just brought that in the past couple of years. That is for mass production sports and saloon cars up to 3.5 litres, manufactured between January 1st, 1985 and December 31st, 1990. And then you've got Class G, which is limited production sports and saloons, and those can be your more one-off types of affair, so they get a special class just for them. And then you've got your Fiesta XR2s there in the Class H, but we just call that the XR2 class. And actually, Malcolm, just on that note, I just wanted to touch on the fact that, you know, for me, Duncan O'Neill, single-handedly one of the names that's keeping the XR2 kind of dream alive here in Scotland. Does so much work buying the cars, setting them up, getting them all ready to race here, and you know, full credit to him.
Yeah, certainly a great commitment, a labour of love to have them out, and he's got two cars, as we saw, lining up at the start of the race here. Impressive that they're here. He is putting in all the effort to do it, and credit to him that it's something that will encourage others, hopefully, to see the potential in them, and relatively they can race on a lower budget than would be the case on some more expensive and say more highly tuned vehicles. The pit lane there, we see unfortunately a retiree. That's Paul Bauer's Fiat in there, so we've lost him, and we've just
Adam Kinman.
Adam Kinman has spun coming out of the hairpin and is trying to rejoin. He may be able to if there's a bit of traction there for him.
Go on. There's a gear in there somewhere, Adam.
Yes,
go for it, lads. There we go. Slowly but surely.
Just allowing others to pass safely.
He does remember that Knockhill have got his address for sending out the grass repair bill on that one. That's I think he's given up. He's saying our heads have. Oh, okay. Right.
No, he's going to find another way on. Much to the groundsman's concern, he is attempting to rejoin, and yep, there he goes.
I've been pestering the production team for weeks to give me a button that plays the Benny Hill theme tune, but it's still happened. Right, green flag flies, the car back on track, and nothing more than I imagine a little bit of a bruised ego for Adam Kinman on there. However, very easy mistake to make, and again, without seeing the instant there, I would put a lot of money that it's just been a case of he's just lit up the rear tyres coming out of that final corner.
Yes, maybe just got on the power a little too early, as we see there, 36 and 66. That's the two O'Neill racing cars, and Adam Kinman has joined them. So we've got a three-way fight coming along the back straight. It's David Riley ahead of Duncan O'Neill, and understandably the rather more powerful Rover gets past them, as we see coming into shot Alistair Coates in the green MG BV8. Number 51 still trying his best to keep up with Cope in Golf number 4. Alistair having a run here in the MG rather than his usual Escort RS 2000, which he'll be racing next weekend at the Silverstone Classic.
Yeah, it really is its own sub-genre, subculture here well, in the world, I guess, with motorsport is this very vibrant, very rich, historic racing community. You know, you obviously you think of the historic races at Spa, Le Mans. You've got the Goodwood Revival Festival down in England as well. A fantastic ability for everyone to, no matter if you drive these things or not, if you just want to experience them, go down and take part. It's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. But back to the race itself, we've got 6 laps left to go. It's still David Brown ahead of Andrew Graham. Martin Reynolds in 3rd place. The gap there looks to be around about 8 to 10 seconds between those cars there. Charlie Cope, as you said, in 4th position with that Volkswagen Golf, doing a grand job there, although you know it's getting harassed, something rotten from Alistair Coates right now in that MGB GTV8 machine. But again, the Golf just seems to have the measure of that car in the tighter, twistier parts of the circuit here, Malcolm.
Yeah, it does. I spoke to Alistair in the lunch break, and he said that the Golf does get a good run on him out of the hairpin, and in the twistier sections, is slightly more nimble, whereas the rather older generation MGB doesn't quite have the finesse. But Alistair, very experienced driver, especially in Ford Mustangs and also in his Escort, has the wealth of experience that's allowing him to provide very entertaining racing here.
Yeah, I can imagine that the Ford Mustang would be an absolutely different kettle of fish compared to some of the cars that we've got on the track here as well. Although I would imagine in terms of raw horsepower and absolute loutishness that the Rover of John Kinman's would come a close second to that one. Certainly when you put the foot down on it and the back end just squeals out into Mercy. It's a sight and a half. And again, they just don't make them like that nowadays. They
no,
just don't.
Indeed not. We move on now. This is Jimmy Crowe in the Escort with Nicky Dixon close behind him and Brown at the point of lapping these two, but quite a difference in power, technology and otherwise through the generations as we see the Cortina revised in the very late 50s, produced in the 60s, to the modernity of the TVR, and while it comes up on us now, it goes on screen once again. We have the 2 XR2s that we talked about and a bit of sideways movement from 21 Jimmy Crowe, and Dixon getting closer and closer to him in Lotus Cortina, and fabulous run out there. So who knows what will happen in the closing stages.
Yep, 3 laps left to go. As you said, Jimmy Crowe just ahead of Nicky Dixon, the Ford Escort Mark 1, ahead of the Lotus Cortina Mark 1, and making their way out of Clarkson down the back straight. Just now you can see the XR2s in the background there, fighting out amongst themselves. Duncan O'Neill ahead of David Riley, the 2 XR2s in class. As you can see, David Riley going for a bit of a late move on the entry into the final corner there. And again, just going back to the XR2s, of course, very important to keep them here in terms of the heritage, in terms of what they meant to Scottish motorsport. Things moved on now to the Fiesta STs, but of course there was such a huge XR2 movement here. But we see still coming into McIntyre's, this battle still raging on then. Jimmy Crowe still trying to just wrestle that number 21. We're actually seeing Nicky Dixon there in the number 69 Lotus Cortina. Does look like that Cortina is actually starting to make some big inroads here.
Yeah, it's really a superb display from both of them, and yeah, each lap round we think the Escort is slightly faster, but not far off it. And as the pressure comes on, yeah, maybe the Escort driver's been a little unnerved at the thought of the Cortina closing.
Yep.
Yep.
Last lap then, Malcolm. David Brown goes across the line to start that lap there. 4.6 litre engine in that TVR Griffith. That is an absurd amount of power in that car there. And again, you know, all that power means that you have to be even more skilled to be able to drive that thing with consistency and control and drive it to within your limit. And just coming out of Clark's End for the final time, it's been another exemplary display by David Brown in the C class for the TVR Griffith. Into the final corner then, the driver of the 173. It's been 20 seconds or near as heck to Andrew Graham in second place, but it's going to be a race win then for David Brown. Across the line, checker flag flies for David Brown. Andrew Graham is going to come across the line in second place. Martin Reynolds will come across the line in third. In terms of classes then, B class is going to go to Charlie Cope in the Golf GTI. Class C is going to be David Brown in the TVR Griffith. Class A is going to go to Ian Mitchell in the Vauxhall Nova. As we said, Charlie Cope. And then Class D is going to be Adam Kinmans in the Rover Vitesse. And then the XR2 is going to go to Duncan O'Neill on that last lap there. It was looking close, but there was much of a gap between them, probably about 4 or 5 seconds between those cars there. So maybe a predictable win there for David Brown, but he still has to turn up and he still has to put in the performance there.
Yeah, exemplary performance, yep. Great standard of driving. It is a powerful car, but if you don't have the ability to drive it, then you're not going to be at the front of the race at the end of it. So yeah, excellent performance from David Brown, excellent performances throughout. And just on the screens then, Alistair Coates, on the timing screen, should I say, Alistair Coates got ahead of Charlie Cope just at the end, which is a surprise, as Charlie seemed to have the making of him. So somewhere when we were watching all the other action, we didn't happen to see a late blast from Alistair to get ahead. But yeah, really enjoyable.
Well, that must have happened at least a lap ago then, because I'm looking at the last laps there, 101.0 for Charlie Cope and a 101.3 for Alistair Coates there. So very, very unusual stuff. However, that is by the by. Is we will head over into the holding area and have a very, very well-deserved chat to Andy Alston, who is with our race winner, David Brown.
Performance once more from David Brown in the TVR. It was a lead of close to 20 seconds in the end, but very, very comfortable race for him, and I think he'll be more than happy with how his weekend has gone overall, really. Very strong in the opener as well earlier on today, of course, but yeah, I think he'll be very happy with how he's gone, and we'll catch up with him in just a moment's time. And David, let's we spoke earlier in the day and you were kind of saying maybe see how the car feels later on this afternoon, but another strong performance out there today, and you must be really happy with how the weekend's going overall.
Yeah, no, the cars ran well, flawless. Would have liked a wee bit more pace, but I think that's for everyone who's going to say that. But yeah, I can't complain at all.
And what's the kind of your thoughts going into the final meeting of the season now as well? Will you do anything to the car perhaps to get ready for it?
No, the final round, I think the car will be different again, so it should have a bit more power. And probably new tyres, because these are ancient, so that'll make a difference. So, and it'll be my dad that's racing the next one, not me. So that'll help him.
Yeah, good stuff. So tell us a little bit about the kind of what that goes on from the end of a race meeting to the next one for the car, and the kind of what that goes on behind the scenes to kind of get the car on the grid.
From the last race, the gearbox had to get rebuilt. The diff was okay, but I broke the bracket. There's quite a log end on a steering joint. I think the cars are over 30 years old, so they're not really made to get their heads kicked in for 12 minutes at a time, so they do struggle a wee bit, but as long as you like everything and check it all properly, it's not an issue.
Many congratulations out there, well done.
Thank you.
David Brown there in the TVR, a strong performance from him there across both races. Let's see if we can just grab a quick word with one or two other drivers here. I think one driver I'd be quite keen to get their thoughts on is Nicky Dixon here in this fantastic machine, the number 69 car. Nicky, tell us your emotions after that weekend.
Well, just a fantastic weekend racing. Had really some close racing with Jimmy in the Escort and a few other guys. Cars just going really well. Weather was on our side this weekend for Knockhill, which is really good. Just all in all, really enjoyable day, and nice to kind of get some positions with the car finally. We're getting there, but really enjoyable, really good day's motorsport, and really enjoying the classics.
tell us a little bit about the car and the work you do to keep things all ticking over smoothly.
So the car itself is a 1963 Mark 1 Lotus Cortina, so it's a very early car. We're running a 170 brake Lotus twin cam. These standard we're running about 105 brake horsepower, so we're up a fair bit on horsepower. I'd always like more, but it's hard to achieve much more than that. There's a lot of maintenance with older cars, but at the same time there's little electronics, so it's all spanners and basic engineering, which makes it part of the fun. It's really good racing, and I would welcome anyone to try the sport. You wouldn't be disappointed.
So what is it that made you choose this car in particular then as the one you wanted to get behind the wheel?
Memories of this car. This car was raced by the renowned Jim Clark. I was fortunate my grandfather was in motorsport and raced against Jimmy Clark, so I've got a bit of a soft spot for these cars. So might not be the quickest car out there, but it's a car that has been around motorsport for a long time, especially with Scottish drivers, and I just enjoy it. So
definitely, Jim Clark, a man that means so much to so many people in the Scottish motorsport community as well. So to see that Lotus out there it's really, really great to see.
Yeah. But no, like I say, can't fault the car. The car's on faultless all weekend, and the whole of a Mustang called the marshals and all the staff at Knockhill, because it's been a really, really enjoyable weekend.
Absolutely. And just finally, what's your plans going into the final race meeting of the season? Is there anything in particular to the car you're looking to maybe tweak?
We could just get a few more brake horsepower. Have a wee word with the mechanic after. There's a little bit more brake horsepower, but the setup just worked today. Just fantastic setup. It just worked. Yeah, can't complain.
Nicky, many congratulations. Thanks for speaking to us. Nicky Dixon there in this fabulous Lotus, a real crowd pleaser. Great to see that car out there on track.